Uh-oh. Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Marg Diaries video. So as you guys may see from the caption, today's video is a little different from my usual, but a little while ago I posted on my Marg Diaries Instagram of like video suggestions of what you guys wanted to see, and one of my dear friends actually suggested I make a baking video, so I figured that would be literally so fun because one of my like most favorite hobbies is baking, so I figured let's make one today. Okay, so I figured for today's recipe, I wanted to keep it pretty simple and something that I'm really used to making. So for today's video, we're going to be making blueberry muffins. And these muffins are really good for breakfast and just as a snack, maybe even for lunch, whenever you're gonna eat it, blueberry muffins are good. And you can experiment with different types of fruits like I have before. But yeah. Okay, so while I make these muffins, I'm gonna try to give a pretty good tutorial, sort of. I've never made a baking video before, so this should be really fun. But I'll probably just do some, like a little chit chat and catch up with life and some random things that I feel like are fun to talk about. And yeah, so let's get into making these muffins. Okay, so I just moved the angle a little bit. Before we start, I'm gonna measure everything, and obviously, this little mic does not have like a tall enough mic stand, so I'm gonna try to put it on my little Awala bottle if I like need to come and talk to you guys, but I'm gonna start getting all the ingredients and we can get started with everything. Okay guys, so I got my little makeshift mic stand here, and I have my little first station for the baking. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sift together all the dry ingredients, and then later on we can work on the more wet ingredients. Okay, so let's get started now. Okay. So for this recipe, I'm going to start off by adding about, I think I said 2 cups of flour, and I'm going to put this through a little sieve, strainer, whatever you may call it. But this is just to ensure that there's no like like chunks of flour in your muffin. But if you like chunks of flour in your muffins, up to you. So I'm just gonna sift this all together. But I feel like going into like a baking video without giving you guys like any other context besides someone suggested it is kind of like. So, I feel like for a long time baking has just been one of those like hobbies that I always do. I'm very much into retail therapy, but I'm also very into like stress baking or relieving like baking therapy, I think is what people call it. But I'm very much into that. I think that just like baking and cooking in general too always kind of like help me ease my mind about a lot of things, and whenever I'm stressed I bake like a lot of like random things, like especially during, I want to say COVID is when it really started, because I feel like being secluded from a lot of people kind of open your mind up to new hobbies, and baking is definitely one of the things for me. But now I'm going to add the baking powder. It's going to be like 1 tablespoon, so this is about half a tablespoon. But yeah, definitely baking is like just one of those things for me that I've always kind of learned to be adequate at. I don't want to say I'm like really good, but I think I'm pretty decent. My grandma used to bake a lot when I was younger, and she used to bake a lot of like Filipino cultural goods, but she'd also like dabble in like banana bread and like a lot of like Americanized things. Like I remember she'd always find like joy in like making things that were out of her comfort zone. Like a lot of the things that she made was like, as I said, like very like Filipino and cultural, but then she'd always try to like watch those like cooking channel videos and then like surprise my sister and I with things that she made. Like, I forget what she made, but like she tried making sugar cookies and they ended up like biscuits, but they were so good. And I remember that was just like, being able to like cook for people and bake is definitely something that like brings joy to me, and I love knowing that people enjoy stuff that I make. So salt. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely something that like anyone can really get into. Like I know that a lot of people are like, baking is not my thing, I can't get into it, but I feel like that's so like, you gotta open your mind a little bit to like learning how to do things. But yeah, that's literally it for the dry ingredients. It's really just 3 main dry ingredients, and a lot of the things that pull this together is the wet ingredients, so let's get started on that. Okay, so now that we're done with the dry ingredients, let's get into the wet ingredients. So the first thing for the wet ingredients is a half cup of butter, which is essentially just like 1 full stick. This one's unsalted and plant butter. Like I said, you can use vegetarian or vegan substitutes for this recipe. So I feel like for butter, like this one for sure, this one's just a plant butter you can use. And then for eggs, you can obviously use like applesauce or like anything for that like texture adjacent. And obviously there's a lot of flours you can use too, so yeah. But I'm gonna just, I feel like for this video, like I'm trying to mix it between like a baking tutorial and a like talking video, because like I haven't done this before, so please bear with me. I'm gonna try and make this as like, what do you call it? I guess you could say as good as possible. Okay. But I'm just gonna pop this in the microwave real quick. Alright, so I just melted the butter a little bit, and I'm just gonna give it a little whisk because it's like not fully, oh my goodness, it's not fully melted. Oh my gosh. This whisk is really heavy. Okay. Okay, so I have the melted butter. I just gave it a little whisk because not all of it got melted. But the next wet ingredient that I'm going to add is I'm going to add the 6 tablespoons of yogurt. And honestly, when I first used this recipe, I was like confused why we're adding yogurt to it. But apparently it helps with like the texture and like, I guess like how dense your muffin is. So, alright, so for the yogurt, I'm just gonna use one of these Chobani ones because I don't have like the regular yogurt, but I feel like this would still be pretty yummy since it is like vanilla flavored. But I'm just gonna use, I want to say like probably like the entire container of the yogurt. I feel like that's a good substitute for like 6 tablespoons. I think this is pretty good. So I'm just gonna the entire thing of yogurt. Okay, another thing about me and baking is that I try to be as like clean as possible, like making sure I put away things like after I'm done using them, because that kind of like maintains the peacefulness of it all. I feel like when I start to see things that are like piling up in a mess, like that's when like I start to lose my motivation to bake, like midway. Alright. Then I'm gonna use about like 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Although, like, you should probably measure this. I'm just gonna eyeball it because this vanilla bean paste is on its like last life. So I'm just gonna do, whoa, like that much looks like it. That looks good. Okay. So I'm just gonna give it a little whisk. Alright, it should look like this, kind of like pasty. Okay. And then I'm gonna add the sugar. So usually this recipe calls for 1 cup of like regular granulated sugar, but I figured I'll just use brown sugar because what I have on hand right now. Alright. I'm so sorry if this video is a little chaotic. I'm kind of like, usually when I bake, it's hard to multitask like talking and baking. So this is definitely gonna be a video for experimental purposes. We'll see how this goes. But I'm just gonna measure about 1 cup like loosely. I'm just not gonna pack it in because I feel like I don't want to add like too much sugar, although sugar is needed for like certain textures that you want to receive based on like what you're making. Because for cookies like require a lot of sugar, and cakes a little less, but I'm gonna try and minimize it as much as possible. So there's 1/2 cup, and then I'm gonna do another 1/2 cup to make it 1 cup. And obviously, I don't think you really need to add the sugar like too much, at least. Like you can probably get away with adding like 1/2 cup of sugar. I feel like that wouldn't be too sweet. Okay, now I'm just gonna give everything a mix together. A mix. Oh my god. Okay, now that I added the sugar, I'm just gonna give everything a mix together. So I'm gonna use some oat milk in replacement for the buttermilk, but you can honestly make buttermilk at home with just like, I think it was like whipping the regular whole milk and making butter and then using that like the leftover liquid. But I just have oat milk on hand, so I'm gonna do about 6 tablespoons. I'm gonna eyeball it because yeah, I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'm gonna do about that much. I think that should be good. And I highly advise that you measure this beforehand. I'm just kind of doing things the way that I think because I've done it so many times. But I'm just gonna whisk everything together. This is honestly kind of stressful but really fun at the same time. Like, I'm just thinking about like, sometimes I'm doing this and I keep on forgetting that like you guys are also seeing me do this, which is kind of fun, also kind of nerve-wracking. So, I'm sorry if it's kind of chaotic, but okay. So then I'm gonna add 2 eggs to it. There's 1 egg. And then 2nd egg. I wonder how this sounds on the mic right now. I hope it sounds okay. Okay. But actually, funny story is that I'm actually rushing right now because my mom is gonna come back and my sister's gonna come because we're gonna go out to dinner tonight, and I'm kind of like speed running this so that I can have this like out of the oven by the time we're ready to leave. But that's another, oh my god, there's a freaking bird. It's like, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Literally everything is against me right now, but I'm still doing this because I like to bake and it's fun. And you guys also wanted to see this. So. Okay, so this is what it should look like all whisked together. That literally looks really rancid, but I swear it'll be like, it'll be good, I promise. Just keep the faith. I swear I'm good at baking, I promise. Okay. So now that the wet ingredients are done, I'm gonna double check that I kind of added everything. Alright, so then we can combine the dry and the wet ingredients together. Okay, so one of my other suggestions for baking is always putting the wet ingredients in the bigger bowl and the dry ingredients in the smaller one, just because you're really supposed to like add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients in increments, but I did not do that because I don't know why I didn't do that this time, but just a suggestion for you guys, make sure to do that. But I have my dry ingredients all measured out like we did earlier, and then I'm going to slowly add the wet ingredients kind of like in parts. So I'm going to add like 1/2 of it, and then no, like 1/3 of it, and then 1/2, and so on and so forth. Great, so I'm just going to do a little final mix with this. And then the next part, which is the most important step, is adding our blueberries. Okay. Alright, so I just have the blueberries that I rinsed a little while ago, kind of like are pretty dry, and I'm just going to slowly fold them in, or try to slowly fold them in. Just give it a little light mix. And I've seen like other recipes where they kind of like coat the blueberries first with like flour so they don't sink, but I think this is a pretty like thick enough like batter so they won't like sink to the bottom of the muffins. So this is essentially what it should look like when the batter is like all finished, and I literally have not been showing you guys how it looks like. I'm sorry guys. These, I hope whenever I make more baking tutorials in the future, this will be like my practice one, so. But now that the blueberry muffin batter is all finished, we're gonna move on to the streusel topping, which is probably like my favorite part of this entire recipe, so let's get into it. So at first I'm gonna do about a 1/4 cup of that same plant butter. I'm just gonna melt it in a little bowl. So I'm gonna add this first. And then you can microwave this for about, I wanna say like 30 seconds, maybe 20. Just so it's a little easier to mix. So I just finished melting the butter and I'm just gonna leave it a little smush so it's easier to mix. But for streusel, it's supposed to be a little crummy, so it's not supposed to be too doughy, but not too like battery, if that's a word. I don't know. But after you melt the butter, you're gonna want to add about a 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm gonna eyeball it because I'm just gonna eyeball it because I'm not trying to add too much sugar. But I'm gonna do about, I want to say like a 1/2 cup is probably about like that much that I have here, maybe even less. But I'm gonna do a 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm using brown sugar again because this is kind of what I have on hand right now. And you're gonna mix the two together. I'm just using a fork. And I think you can use your hands for this. And then I'm gonna add a little sprinkle of cinnamon. This doesn't really call for this, but I just want to add a little cinnamon because it's very like fall-y, and I feel like it fits the vibes of a muffin. So I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon. I want to say about like close to a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Give it a little mix. And this is what it's looking like right now, kind of like a, I want to say like a brown glaze. I'm also going to add a sprinkle of fine sea salt, just a little pinch. It's a little flavor profile. Give it a mix, and then, oh my gosh, I'm kind of like getting tired of talking like what do you call it? Those like baking video instructors. But this is kind of like a fun persona, but okay. And then lastly, you're gonna want to add about, I want to say 10 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And you could also substitute this with almond flour. I find that it tastes really yummy with almond flour as well, so let's do it. I just finished adding the remainder of the flour. I'm going to give it a final mix and then we can get ready to start scooping and topping our muffins. Okay guys, oh my gosh. Ooh, okay. I'm looking a little rough because it's a bit of a little rough baking time, but that's okay because it's still going to be yummy and delicious. But I finished combining all the streusel together, and I have my little cupcake muffin pan here. And I actually don't have any cupcake liners. I don't know why I didn't check for that, but I'm just gonna butter the pans, and I'm gonna add a little flour just so it's easier to come out when they're done later. I have the little pan here. Oh my gosh, the pan. It's very messy, don't look at that, but I'm gonna just kind of do a little swirl on the bottom. And I'm gonna shake off the rest and put it in the garbage. Alright, here is the pan all floured and buttered. Now I'm just gonna start scooping everything. I don't exactly have an exact measurement, but I feel like an ice cream scoop would work fine for scooping everything in. It's for some reason I cannot find the ice cream scoop, so I'm just gonna use a little spoon. But I want to say like you want to add like about a 1/4 cup to each little muffin tin part section. Okay. But this is usually like the most peaceful part of the baking is after everything, all the batter is all completed and you just gotta like assemble it. So definitely like one of my favorite parts of it. I'm so sorry, my makeshift mic stand has gone through this entire video. But this is what it looks like so far. Kind of not perfect, but that's okay, because nothing is perfect, and these will be delicious anyways. But I'm going to top them all off with the little homemade streusel. I keep on saying strudel. What is strudel? Like puff pastry? I think it's like a puff pastry. I keep on saying strudel, but this is streusel, so yeah. I'm just gonna use my hands. I wash my hands, but I'm just gonna add like about, I want to say like a little over a tablespoon. And I'm just gonna kind of crumple it on top, kind of like this. And I'm not going to pack it in because it's supposed to be like a crunchy topping. Alright, so this is what everything looks like before going into the oven. I didn't mention it earlier in the video, but I think, actually I'm not sure if I did, but I preheated the oven to 425, and this is going to go in for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to switch it to 375? Yeah, 375 for 15. So in total, it should take about 20 minutes to cook. Okay guys, so I brought my little makeshift mic stand outside while we wait for the muffins to finish baking, but it smells really good in the house, like very fall cinnamon vibes. It just smells really good. That's like another thing that I like about baking is the fact that like you can smell it all throughout the house, and I love that. It just smells so good. Like a lot of the candles that I have that are like dessert scented, like I have a cinnamon roll one, I think it's like a vanilla cake. I don't know, I just like the scent of sweets, but I'm definitely a sweets kind of girl. But I think I'm going to free this from my little makeshift stand. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, my water bottle is now free, but I am outside and it's kind of getting close to sunset, so it's really pretty outside. But I figured that I would spend the time to kind of make a little kind of like Q&A-esque, like really fast Q&A video, just because I feel like for my first video that I recorded for this, I did go into a little bit like about myself, but I didn't like give some really basic facts, and I did make myself a little drink, like a fall-esque drink, very much into that. Like it was like this pumpkin spice flavored oat milk, and then I just did some like cinnamon and a little bit of instant coffee because I can't be bothered to make an espresso shot right now. But I figured some like easy questions, like I should have put this like on a poll, but I wrote a couple down on my notes app that I figured would be like, that's some really good basic information. But okay, so I'm just gonna speed run and read through the ones that I kind of wrote down. But okay, so first off, what inspired you to start your YouTube channel? Okay, so the first reason why I wanted to start my YouTube channel was because like I wanted to do like little lifestyle vlogs when it was first called Matcha Marg. Like I really was into those like lifestyle vloggers, and I really wanted to do that too. So especially during school, I wanted to look for a hobby that I could do to like show my life outside of school, because I feel like oftentimes in the school that I used to go to, not everyone, I don't want to like do that, but I feel like I was especially focused on like academics, and I really wanted to branch out and do things that kind of like provided enjoyment to myself aside from school. So I definitely think that starting my Matcha Marg YouTube channel definitely got me to do a lot of awesome things that I wanted. And although I didn't make a lot of videos, like I remember like making the first ones, I was very excited, and I just like loved showing it to my friends and to the people who watched them. Next question. So for this one, how did you come up with your channel name? So since I had like 2 channel names, I'm just gonna focus on the one that I have now. So this one is called the Marg Diaries. One of the reasons why was because I was starting to journal a lot, and I figured like naming like my YouTube content like some sort of like diary type thing, like that's what I was doing with my journals, like it was gonna be like the Marg journals, but I figured like the diaries rolled off the tongue a bit better. And one of my favorite movies, The Princess Diaries, kind of was also a inspiration for my name, just because I loved that movie. Like I used to watch that movie all the time, especially like for comfort and just like for like coming of age joy. Like Anne Hathaway in the movie was so good. So the Marg Diaries, the Princess Diaries, journals, that's where that came from. Okay, so another one is what's your favorite hobby or pastime? And obviously baking is one of them. I like to bake. I love baking often. Definitely one of those things that I go to whenever I'm stressed out or just like want to do something to fill in my time and just to kind of like fall into if I haven't done it in a while. I do play the guitar and I did play piano when I was younger, and I don't want to pat myself in the back, but I think I was like pretty decent at playing the piano. Like I wasn't the greatest. Like I remember my sister was really good at playing the piano. I wasn't, but I was still pretty good at it. But I mainly play the guitar now and sometimes like the ukulele, and I also sing sometimes as well, which is kind of crazy, kind of fun. I do like to watch movies. Like that's another really fun hobby that I have, and I consider it a hobby because I feel like films are just such great ways not to pass time, but like to just kind of step out of reality for a second. Like I talked about this before, but like a lot of the A24 films, like I think they're so good and so well put together, and like the cinematography for a lot of films are just so good, especially Leica too, like the ones who made like Coraline and Paranorman, like stuff like that I really enjoy. And of course shopping, retail therapy, that's just like, oh. But I have been going thrifting more often, which I love, because thrifting is just such a sustainable way to shop, and it's also better and affordable, and the clothes like have character instead of just like being from a store and like produced. But what's your favorite book or movie? My favorite book is, like, as of recently, is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malors. That book, oh my gosh, I read that, I think I want to say in July. Yeah, that book was definitely something that was such a big part of my like introspective journey. Like that book just, it really focused on like relationships, like more so like partner relationships and how that affects other people and like how that affects you personally. And that book was so good. Like genuinely, I think it's like one of my favorite books, and I have like so many, I feel like, but another favorite of mine is Women Who Run with the Wolves. Women Who Run with the Wolves. I think that that's just such a good book, especially if you're a woman or anyone really just looking to educate themselves on like intuition and like the traits passed down from generations of like females and all that. But that book really opened my eyes to like what intuition meant and really the gift of like womanhood and girlhood. So definitely think that you guys should definitely read those books if you're into that. And movie, oh my gosh, my favorite movie of all time is Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. Like that is my favorite movie of all time. And reason being, it talks a lot about like serendipity and basically things that kind of happen by chance that are meant to be. The movie really focuses on like romance and like having a one true love and being connected to one person. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite movie. And reason being was because my mom showed it to me when I was really young, and it kind of just like prompted my image for like finding that one person, that one partner in your life. And which is why I have such high standards, I feel like, is because like even in like any like literature or stuff like that, I feel like when it talks about romance, it talks about it in such like a high regard, and definitely one of the reasons why my standards are really high. But yeah, definitely that's my favorite movie of all time. So I did find one last question, and it's what's it? Okay. Oh, okay. So I did find one last question, and the question is, what is one quote that you live by? And one quote that I live by is, life is much larger than just you. And I think I live by that just because the fact that like we are truly just such small beings in this entire universe, and we may feel like problems like that are really in truth like minuscule. We take them and we kind of like put them to our being and make it everything that we stand for. And I just think that, you know, life, there's so many possibilities and so many different like things that could happen in life, and it's truly just the opportunity to live it is one that will, you know, pass you by. And I definitely think that just being able to look at it at a larger perspective and being open to just experiences and learning, and, you know, not being afraid of like problems, and kind of just taking them with like an open mind, and just looking for the possibilities and the happiness of the future, like what it could present you. So yeah, now we actually really have to go because the muffins are all finished and I do want to try them for you guys. Ah, they look so good. Oh my god, they literally look so beautiful. I sprinkled them with a little confectionery sugar just for a little like touch, but they look so cute. They came out so well, and they came out of the tins really well too because I did butter and flour them. But okay, the reason I came out here is because I want to do a little taste test. So cheers for the muffins. Oh my gosh, I'm actually so excited to try this. Okay, I didn't bring a fork with me, but I think it's fine if I just use my hands. Okay, trying. Cheers. Okay. Oh my god, you're so good. Mmm. 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 They're so good. And the topping is so good. It's kind of disgusting because I'm like chewing into the microphone, but look how good they look. They look so yummy. And they taste really good too. They have like very chewy texture. And I feel like it'd be good with lemon because I like adding lemon to things. This is so good. Oh my god, yay, I'm so happy. Alright guys, oh, I'm some of my teeth. Pretend you guys didn't see that. But, okay guys, so that kind of ends the baking video, or the baking tutorial, for today's video. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely, there's room for much needed improvement for my tutorial, my baking skills, but I'll definitely be sure to kind of like copy or like type the recipe in the description down below, and you guys can make the little marg blueberry muffins for yourself. But thank you all so much for watching. I love all of you guys so much, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye guys!